Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Youthman. Today I have got an absolutely incredible home theater tour for you. This is what I would consider a truly end-game home theater. Now, not only are we going to be looking at all of the components and this incredible, huge home theater, we're also going to be looking at some various other elements in his home, such as whole house audio. He's got a beautiful garage, a killer boat, and just some really cool things that I think you're really going to enjoy. So make sure you stay all the way to the end of the video. Now, before we get into the home theater tour, I want to give a big thanks to today's sponsor, Seymour Screens. Seymour Screens provides a wide range of retractable fixed and DIY projection screens, as well as both fixed and electronic masking panels. As a Seymour customer for the past 5 years, I've been absolutely impressed with both the image quality and build quality of their DIY fabric for my 150-inch 2.35:1 center stage XD screen. Their acoustic transparent fabric allows me to place my speakers directly behind the screen to place the sound exactly where the action is taking place. Visit their website at SeymourAV.com for complete details. I'll have a link down in the description below. Mike, thanks so much for inviting us into your beautiful home. This place is unlike any home I've ever experienced, man. This is like a kid's dream, like a kid that loves home theater, that loves gaming, and just a fun space. And so we're gonna be looking at a bunch of different areas in your home, and I'm excited about that. But this home really started about a year ago as far as construction. So this is a newly constructed home. You designed a lot of it, and we're gonna try to share that story in this. But before we get into the theater room, kind of walk us through what is this space in your home and kind of what was the inspiration? What did you want to create in the space and what are some of the elements in it?
So this is just a game fun room to hang out in before you go watch a movie, or I incorporated a lot of traditional games.
Sure.
Got a retro arcade machine with over 4,700 games.
4,700.
Yeah. I haven't played them all. But
that's awesome.
I did a refreshment area.
Cool.
Got to have that. Have 4 TVs, where you could play separate sources on each one.
Okay, so maybe like for sports and
sports, pretty much.
Pretty much whatever you want, but
different music if you wanted to switch.
Nice.
I can play it through the actual speakers in the ceiling.
Okay, so you've got 4 speakers up here in the ceiling, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Your whole house is connected with in-ceiling speakers, yes. And he's even got like 5.1 systems in guest bedroom setups. Pretty crazy. But you just went all out in this house. But I love the fact that it wasn't you just hiring somebody and saying, hey, do this. You had the vision. You had this dream of building your ultimate in-game home and home theater. And I love that, man. So what else is in here?
Well, in here, that pretty much covers this area, but the rest is basically kind of incorporating into the theater. We've got the digital movie posters.
Yeah.
We've got a popcorn and candy area. And then we've got all the equipment, which I purposely did outside of the room to not have the heat, not have the noise.
So with your digital posters, like how are they getting that information? Kind of explain to us that.
So it's fairly new. I just got the software, but it downloads from a certain site and does all high resolution, random, current posters.
Cool.
And I was also able to hook it into my Kaleidescape system so that it could pull the info from what I have there.
Gotcha.
And it'll go further and actually show a now playing when that movie's playing.
Nice. So like when you queue up a movie and everybody's hanging out in here, right. It's kind of like this is now showing in this theater. Yeah. So cool. And Kaleidescape kind of integrates that into that.
Has a plug-in for it, yeah.
I love it, man. And these are beautiful displays. Just cool content right here. So let's kind of walk through your rack. So before we even get into your theater room, you've got this beautiful rack, actually 2 racks. So let's take a look at maybe what's inside there.
So this rack is mainly whole house. It does the internet. It's got my camera system, the whole house, the Sonos for the whole house.
Okay.
It does have the Kaleidescape, which is for the theater. Most of the internet and things like that are on a battery backup.
Gotcha.
And then I have
your thermostats for your temperature.
So those are running. There's home run ducts for behind the racks and behind the projector.
Gotcha.
So they tie into an 8-inch duct, and you can adjust the fan speed and pull the hot air out.
Gotcha, cool. So that's all your whole house audio, and then over here, what do we got?
Over here is all theater. I did Emotiva.
Okay.
So I got the RMC1 processor. I've got the XPA DR3 for the front stage, and the surrounds are the XPA 7s.
Gotcha.
And then the subs are Crown XTI 6002s. They're running in 4 ohm, which puts around 2,400 watts a sub.
2,400 watts per sub. All right, we've got some cool subs we're gonna show you here in just a bit, and then the surge protection on the bottom. So Mike, one thing that you shared with me is that when you built your home theater, you wanted to make sure that you had really easy access behind your equipment. And I know that was important for me. In my home theater, I have a little rack that I can pull out, but it's still kind of awkward climbing in back there. You made your access behind your screen and your equipment racks really easy. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yes, that was very important to me. I did all the mechanics of the house that I could back there. I did the circuit breakers, I did the thermostats. They all have remote sensors throughout the house.
Gotcha.
The racks have great access. And I also have access behind the speakers. They do any connections or anything needed. And it's a good little storage area for boxes.
It's awesome. And you actually did all of the wiring yourself. I mean, I'll be honest, there's an art form into getting all these wires as tidy as you've done. And you did a phenomenal job. That's got to be a huge, tedious process, right?
Yeah, it took days. And I just spent the time, and that was important to me.
Dude, I love it. It looks super clean. The space is really accessible back here. And like you said, you've got access to the rear of your speakers, your subwoofers, all the cabling. If you ever have to upgrade your components, just makes it super, super easy. So I love what you've done here. So Mike, before we head on into the theater, and I love how you've got your theater sign up there, these two screens, you had mentioned earlier that you're able to tie that in with Kaleidescape. And so Kaleidescape is running all your movie collection. And we can see over here, inside the theater room, we've got Ready Player One already queued up. And so it automatically pulled that. And then over even on this other one, it's kind of playing some random artwork. Actually, I guess it's now showing both of them, but sometimes it'll do like random stuff. So how did you incorporate that?
So these are the newest edition. I built the frames. They're a 43-inch TCL TV, nothing special.
Gotcha.
They're running on, it's similar to Raspberry Pi, but basically a Windows-based compact computer through HDMI.
Gotcha.
And I use the Movie Poster app software. And they have a plugin for Kaleidescape. They have a plugin for Plex.
Sweet.
There's an Xbox, I think, is another one.
Gotcha.
And I'm still learning it, but it's pretty cool.
Dude, it's incredibly cool.
It shows your start time, your end time, where you're at in the movie. It's kind of a nice addition to the entrance.
Absolutely. And speaking of entrance, man, let's talk about this entrance, because this is not an ordinary door, right? This joker's huge.
That is
heavy.
It's designed for home theaters, studios. It weighs about 350 pounds. It's a multiple layer core door.
Gotcha.
And it helps a lot with the sound.
Sure, so we want to try to keep as much sound in there so the wife, if she's taking a nap or whatever, you don't have to disturb her. And plus, we want all the acoustics to be in there where we're going to be enjoying it, right?
Exactly.
So once you take us in, let's give a tour of the home theater. Mike, this room is phenomenal, man. So let's kind of talk about the room dimensions. Like, what approximate space are we looking at here?
So the finished space is about 17 wide by 26 deep. Now the back wall, everything is recessed. So there's about another 2 feet, 28 inches that it's framed forward. And of course we have this the screen wall, which we have access behind.
Sure, so there's definitely, the room is bigger than what is physically here. And this is a massive room. I mean, we've got, how many theater seats here?
We've got 13.
Holy cow, man. So I'd love to kind of go around your room and talk about all the aspects of it. And probably the first thing we'll start off is with this ginormous screen, man. What kind of diagonal are we looking at here, and
so
what aspect ratio?
That's a Seymour, it's a 190-inch wide cinescope screen, which comes out to around 206 inches diagonally.
Golly. I mean, literally, that is just enormous. This is like what we would get in Plant City in my hometown of a local cinema. I mean, that's massive, and it's got a beautiful, beautiful image. So we've got Seymour screen, and then you also have masking, right? This is a scope screen.
Yeah, so I got, it's also made by Seymour. It's a manual masking. It's magnetic, so it stays up there. And
Sure.
it's got felt to trim it up, and works pretty well.
Yeah, so if you're watching 16:9 content and you want to totally black out those side gray bars, then you can put that up there manually. And so everything in your room is really, really clean. And so let's kind of talk about these speakers. Tell us what kind of configuration you have here, and then what kind of speakers. We'll start again kind of behind the screen. What are you running for your LCR?
So it's a 11.1 with 4 subwoofers and 6 Atmos.
11.1.4, and we'll get into that, how we came to that. So what do we have behind the screen?
Behind the screen, there's 3 identical. They're do-it-yourself sound group.
Okay.
Titan 818s. So there's an 18-inch, basically mid-bass driver.
Gotcha.
There's a horn, and there's a smaller mid-bass driver. I think it's a 8-inch or maybe 6.5.
Yeah.
So that's behind the screen. Every speaker is in foam.
Okay.
So it kind of isolates it from the structure.
Gotcha.
And then we also, up front, we have 2 of the 4 subwoofers, which are stereo integrity HS24s.
24-inch. So you got 4 24-inch subwoofers. And when we cranked up some demos in here, I asked you, I said, do you have butt kickers? Do you have tactiles? You're like, I don't think I really need them. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see. Because this is a big room to pressurize, man. I mean, let's face it, this is a huge, and how tall are your ceilings roughly?
The peak is 14 feet.
Okay, so we got a massive room here, and that takes a lot of movement from these subwoofers, or you got to have a lot of surface area. And I can say right now, these 424s, absolutely, you don't need butt kickers, man. Those seats were rumbling, huge amount of tactile. And now, did you build the speaker cabinets? Did you buy them? Did you? So this is all DIY.
Yes, the speaker cabinets. I had a friend, Charles Keene, who built all the cabinets for me.
Gotcha.
The sub cabinets he actually designed himself. I believe they were tuned to 18 hertz.
Yeah.
They're ported. The reason these subs are hard to do ported is they're huge. So you've got a coffin-sized box.
They're huge.
And it's hard to hide them.
Yeah.
So I was able to, on a new build them all in so that they could be hidden and still get the benefit of the ported.
Dude, I love it. Like I said, everything about your room is just super flush. So we've got DIY sound group, LCR up front. We've got the stereo integrity, 4 24-inch, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. And so what are you running for sides as well as your Atmos speakers?
So the sides are also do-it-yourself sound group. They're Vortex 12s, which is a coaxial speaker. So they're a 12-inch mid-bass with a tweeter behind it.
Gotcha. And that helps with like time alignment, right?
Yeah, that, and it uses the cone to spread it, so it gives you a good effect for Atmos and surround.
So it's almost like a waveguide at that point. Cool.
So the Atmos and all the surrounds are identical speakers. So I've got basically 8 bed layer surrounds and the 6 Atmos.
Gotcha. Now, you had mentioned earlier that in our conversation that 2 of your speakers are kind of playing the same content. Is that correct?
Yes. So I'm using an Emotiva RMC1 16-channel receiver or processor. So I had to tie 2 of them. I didn't have enough channels, so I tied the front 2 surrounds together.
Gotcha. So later on down the road, if maybe they have an expansion for that, or say you decide to go with something else, another brand that offers more channels, then you could always separate those at that time.
Correct.
But at least the wiring's already done. You've already got them installed. And again, I love how you've just made these like super clean. Is this something that you made here?
Yeah, so I built the grills, nothing crazy, just basically speaker cloth and Velcroed on.
Little frame.
Little frame, and they look clean.
Absolutely clean, man. So I love that. So we've got, and I'm just going to say this. So this is probably my second time that I've heard a DIY sound group. And sometimes, you know, you always hear guys say, you know, with DIY, you get a lot of bang for the buck. I can honestly say, like, this is one of the absolute most impressive home theaters that I've heard. And I've heard a bunch of different home theaters. So there is a ton of bang for the buck that you get with the DIY sound group. So I love what you've done here. During the demos, I love the fact that your horizontal bed layer, you've got a good separation between that and your Atmos, and I don't have that luxury at my house. But by doing that, man, we were watching Ready Player One, and when the change starts flying around, it's just super immersive, man. And so you can hear there's so much distance between each speaker that your brain knows kind of where that's coming from, and they're able to place those objects really, really precisely. So, man, the speakers sound phenomenal. Now, Mike, when we were outside your room, there's a big difference in how that room sounds and this room sounds. Out there, it's very kind of echoey because you have a lot of hard surfaces. And one of the things that we really emphasize, I know in my channel, is that room acoustics is crucial to getting really, really great sound. And you've spent a lot of time on the acoustics, kind of both in the room, what we see, and even some of the things that we don't see. So kind of walk us around the room. What were your choices there, and why did you go with those?
So this room, 3 sides of it are actually 8-inch concrete block.
Okay.
I used a foam board on the concrete block to separate it from the framing. So I then framed it out with 2x4s. So kind of a wall inside a wall.
Gotcha.
Those are entirely filled with spray foam.
Okay.
And then I used 2 layers, 5/8 drywall, green glue in between. So that gave me a good base to kind of lock in the sound. I did that ceiling. The only wall that's not block is the screen wall.
Gotcha.
That's all 2x6, framed out, fully insulated, 2 layers of drywall, green glue.
That's a lot, man.
It's also got, I made these panels myself, and there's 1-inch ductboard in them, just to give it a little bit extra sound absorption on the front wall.
Sure, gotcha. And so what kind of acoustic treatments do you have here?
So I used GIK, some of their diffusers, as you can see, some absorption. I used the absorption up front the best I could.
Yep.
I didn't want to do one on the door just because of the door itself.
Okay.
I used a thinner diffuser up there, kind of, you don't bump into it.
Right,
But I maximized it on these. I used a 6-inch thick, so it also does good absorption.
Gotcha.
I did some on the back wall where I could.
So up front, we've got a 190-inch wide. Now, originally when you reached out to me, I thought it was a 190-inch diagonal. So 190-inch wide is actually even bigger than that diagonal. So you're like 206-ish maybe?
Somewhere in that area.
That's crazy. So in order to get that big of an image and to have it that bright, especially for like HDR content, my guess is, when you're looking at the projectors that are out there on the market,
it's a bit limited.
Probably the budget Epson isn't going to do it. Even some of the JVCs isn't going to do that screen justice. And so walk us through your choice on the projector for this room.
So I needed at least 5,000 lumens was really where it came in to get HDR. Could even go brighter, but that's way outside the budget.
Sure.
I wound up using the 5000ES Sony projector.
Okay.
So far, I'm very happy with it. I mean, it gives a great image. And
man, it's beautiful. It's more than a good image, man. That's being super humble, I'll be honest with you. It's a gorgeous image, incredibly bright. And I shared this with you. Even with all your lights on, that's a really bright image. It's a really beautiful image. And I know retail, this thing's way on up there, but you and I shared that, or you shared with me that, you searched and you looked and you ended up getting a really good deal on it. And I think that's important, that you shop around and try to figure out ways that you can cut costs. I mean, you've got a beautiful home, you've got a massive room, but the reality at the end of the day, everybody's got a budget.
Right. And that was kind of, I left that to the end. I got everything done, and that was the last thing I did.
I think honestly, and that's smart too, when you're building a home theater, because this takes time. I mean, for you, it took about a year.
Right.
A lot can change in a year. New models can come out and new technology. So I always recommend get your speakers, get your theater seats. Those things don't change at all. Save those electronics, maybe the processor, the projector for the end. I think that was super smart in doing that. But man, I absolutely love the gorgeous image that the Sony projects onto that 206-inch diagonal screen. So Mike, one thing that's super important in a home theater is the seats. And what people don't realize is you're going to be sitting in this for hours on end when you're watching movies. And if you watch them once a week or even once a month, you want something that's quality. So what did you go with? And let's talk about the risers as well.
So I went with Valencia, and these are their Venice model. Of course, I had to kind of work with the dimensions, but I had the opportunity to build the walkway as wide as I wanted. But
sure.
I went with 4. I considered 5, but kind of would have been a little tighter, and I wanted everything to have room.
Gotcha.
So I was able to do the 5, and I did kind of the couch setup in the rear.
Yeah, gotcha.
If you ever wanted to lay down or
snuggle with the wife back there. Yeah. That's kind of cool.
And I also did 3 6-inch risers, so each platform, each seating is 18 inches above the next.
Gotcha. So that's pretty high.
Yeah.
And so why did you make each one that high? That seems kind of extreme, maybe.
Well, I wanted to make sure no one's blocking you in the front,
yep.
And because of the screen size, I could still kind of stay in that sweet spot and get a taller riser.
Nice.
As the screen shrinks, you got to kind of stay closer.
Sure.
So that's worked out well. I like the separation. I'm able to walk by with the seats
fully
extended.
Reclined. Right. You've got access there.
The carpet, I went with Joy Carpets,
okay.
And they kind of specialize in, they got a lot of theater patterns, and I just chose this one. It's darker and kind of went with everything else. But
right.
They got a good selection. It's a good quality carpet. I also obviously did the lighting on the stair risers.
Right. And that helps, it kind of creates this cool movie theater ambience, but it's also practical too.
Right.
You've got, 14, 15 people in here watching a movie. They get up in the middle of the movie to go to the restroom, and last thing you want is a liability. So having the step lights definitely is a good thing. And I think that's even tied into...
So one thing I have is if I'm watching a movie through Kaleidescape, it's programmed so if you hit pause or intermission, as they call it,
yeah.
The lighting will come on.
Nice.
In a lower setting, so that way you can get up. And it also rolls the lights. When the credits roll, it also cues the lighting. And when the movie starts, it shuts them off.
Very cool.
Which is nice.
Absolutely. So Kaleidescape's got some really cool features kind of built
right.
into it so that it just kind of gives you more of that movie vibe,
right.
But does some really cool custom automation as well.
So one other thing about the risers is there's a lot of volume here, and I didn't want it to echo. So I actually did blown-in insulation in this. I didn't want to do bat. That would have gotten crazy expensive.
Gotcha.
But I filled everything with blown-in. That whole back cavity is also filled with blown-in. So there's really nothing, there's no hollow spaces left in this room.
Wow. So again, just the importance of proper acoustic treatment to make sure that the sound stays inside this room. It doesn't escape as much as possible to other rooms and disturb other people in the house, but it just also makes for a really great experience audibly in a room like this, especially this size. That's a lot of acoustic treatment. I think you even told me they came in and I think they blew some in.
Yeah,
and then you came back
once
in,
I
right?
filled in all the spots they missed, they had to come back and refill it.
Yeah, he's like, man, we need more. And so you just kind of went all in on the acoustic treatment. But like I said, I think it's really paid off in your home theater. So we've got quite a bit of lighting in here, a couple of different things. So kind of walk us through your choices on the lighting.
So the lights are all hue, and that was just so I could pick the brightness, the color. I did the sconces with hue bulbs.
Okay.
I did the tray lighting with their rope lighting.
I love the tray, man. That's just a beautiful feature in and of itself.
And I did obviously the cans, but yes, it all kind of, I could tie it all together and do different scenes with it, which is nice.
So Mike, in a room this big, and you've got a lot of components going on. You've got lighting, you've got Kaleidescape, you've got all your amplifiers and your processors. And so the last thing we want in a home theater is to have a ton of remotes. And so, man, you've got a pretty cool setup here. Kind of walk us through that, what you've chosen.
So I'm using Control 4, which can integrate everything. Everything you mentioned, it can control the lights. Kaleidescape can send feedback to do different things. I've also got my other source that I use is Shield Pro.
Okay.
So it allows direct streaming through the Control 4 processor.
Gotcha.
So you can go right to Tidal or Amazon Music or Spotify,
Nice.
which is nice. It just goes to an on-screen.
Sure.
Other than that, it just basically puts it all together.
Yeah, so the only downfall, I mean, this is the first time I've held one of these. This is the Neo remote. This thing is absolutely slick. It feels awesome in the hand. It's got a lot of weight to it, and so it just kind of feels premium. Very minimalistic buttons, I like that. It'll kind of do whatever you want, but the only downside is you do have to have like a custom integrator that can program it. And I know we even had your guy come over today, and he was tweaking some settings for it and adding some functionality, which is super cool. But that's one of the things you have to consider.
Unless you're a dealer, you don't have access to their software.
Yeah.
So you have to have a login. So
for me, this is difficult because I change out so many things, reviewing products. But for you, for the most part, hopefully you're going to keep that projector for a long time, and you're going to have the Kaleidescape for a long time. So if you got to call him once a year or once every couple of years, not that big of a deal. But I love the amount of customization you can do with this and connect that all together. It's kind of like one hub to control everything in your setup. It's pretty sweet. Mike, this home theater is absolutely phenomenal, man. From every aspect, from the design phase of it to this massive, beautiful screen, just to the amount of space and the amount of guests that you can house in here and just invite over for a movie or even to listen to music. Just so much thought and effort went into this. But I think somebody watching this video might have the perception of, oh, this is just an example of a blank check kind of home theater where a guy who hired a builder and just said, hey, build me something cool. And they went ahead and did all this, but that is completely opposite. This is what I would consider a high-end home theater. There's no doubt. You've got some incredible equipment, beautiful, like a massive room, but you were so involved in almost every aspect of this home theater build. And I'd love for you to kind of unpack some of that, even from the design phase that you shared about me or shared with me, and just kind of the different things that you were a direct part of.
So the inspiration really came a couple of years ago when my father built a theater up in Tennessee. Now it was an existing space, so there was limitations there, but I really got to, he was working with a company and I really got to see how to build it, how to soundproof, speaker placement, things like that. From there, it kind of gave me the bug. And building new construction, I was able to have a lot of control over the room size, what I was going to do, and how it was going to be built. So I have a background in AutoCAD, so I was able to do the drawings, do the calculations, the seating placement, the heights, all of that, and provide them to the framers.
Nice.
So I did a wall detail, a rear wall detail, the front wall. Now, those front wall speakers are actually towed in, which made things a little more complicated in the framing. So I did all that. From there, I learned a lot from Facebook groups, home theater enthusiasts, just seeing what other guys did and pulling this from one area. I watched all of Stephen Smith's from Home Theater Gurus. He's crazy.
He's incredibly knowledgeable too. Stephen knows his stuff.
So I mean that was very helpful, seeing how detailed he got, and so just kind of put it all together. And I mean I was here every step of the build, and framers are here making sure that's in the right place. And I also pre-wired the entire house. So I've got miles of wire. Ran that all in before the drywall went on, exactly where I wanted it. Pre-construction brackets for all the speakers outside this room. So it's just...
And you've got, and we're gonna, in this video, this isn't even done, we've got several other areas in your home that, like you said, you've run all the wiring. I'd love to give these guys just a glimpse into those spaces as well, and even a really, really cool garage setup out there. But I love the fact that you had a vision for this, and you had a dream, honestly. And a lot of us, I know when I built my home theater, it wasn't a new construction build. It was an existing room in my home, but I have a vision for it. I had a desire for it. And what I'm hoping that even a video of this scale, like this is massive, and a lot of people won't have a room this big, but I think that you can still look at some things that you've done in your room, the thought process, the the insulation, the way that you placed room acoustics as really, really important in this room, I think there's a lot that we can take from this, and maybe we have to scale it down to fit our budget, but I think that you've just done some really, really good things in this space, and I absolutely love it, man. This has been fun, not only just to kind of look at, but to experience. Like I said, this literally is probably one of the best home theaters I've ever experienced. Audibly, visually, it's phenomenal, brother. I mean, like, this is absolutely incredible.
You're welcome back anytime.
I might be back next weekend, man, so you throw that out there. But this has been super, super fun. Well, I would love to, I know you had one other question before we move on to the next room. This has only been about a year build. So if you were to back up maybe a year ago, if you could do this all over again, is there anything that you would change in the room itself?
At this point, there's not.
Yeah.
I so far haven't figured anything out that I forgot or would do differently. I mean, as technology changes, you never know, but I'm pretty content and just happy to enjoy it.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I know you were asking me initially, you're like, Michael, you've heard a lot of home theaters. Like, you don't even know, how does mine even sound? I mean, does it sound good? I mean, it sounds great to me and my family. It sounds phenomenal. It looks gorgeous. And so I'm with you. I couldn't think of one thing that you would change. Now, could you upgrade to a Christie, Eclipse projector? Yeah, a couple $100,000. You could. Do you need to? Absolutely not. Plenty bright enough. The colors are gorgeous. Sound-wise, somebody may say, well, they're DIY, so they're less than maybe a manufacturer brand. No, sir. These things are absolutely phenomenal, and your ears are going to give out long before these speakers do. Your bass is huge, tactile bass. I mean, we're feeling it in the chest. Like I said, we were watching Ready Player One. We went through a bunch of different demos, and anytime there was an explosion or some kind of tactile response, man, we really felt it. So just well done, man. So Mike, let's head out to some other areas in your home, and I'd love to give them just kind of a brief tour of those areas as well. So Mike, we're out in the rest of your home, and a couple of things that were really important when you built this home is you wanted to make sure that we have just great audio as well as video, both for music and movies. And so here we are in your living room. Kind of tell us what you got going on here.
So in the living room, and being that it was new construction, I wanted to do all built-ins. Mm-hmm. So I did...
like in-walls?
In-walls.
Gotcha.
I did a 7.1 clip system. Mm-hmm. I actually used their 12-inch sealed enclosures, so they have to go in before the drywall. The box is about 4.5 feet tall.
Gotcha.
And I put all the equipment in a separate rack, so you don't see anything. It's just a nice clean install.
Absolutely. And so let's go ahead and take a look in that room, because you got another system in there as well.
So here in the master bedroom, I did a 5.1. Okay. It's got a 10-inch in wall.
Gotcha.
It's all clips again. And what I did to kind of separate, because the theater racks are so far away, is I did a mini rack.
Gotcha.
I shared some of the internet. I kind of split up, so I have a switch in here.
Okay.
I have the receivers for the living room and the bedroom. And I also did the other half of the whole house, which is all Sonos, I did in here, just for shorter runs. So I have 11 zones of the Sonos to run throughout the house.
Gotcha. So one thing that I didn't realize, when I think of Sonos, I think of, their speaker system, and you can put one in here and put one in the next room. I didn't realize that you could utilize their software and their amplifiers and connect that with like an AVR to be able to pair that. Because I noticed when we were here earlier, your wife kicked on some tunes in here, and then when we walked out in the living room, same thing was playing out there. So kind of, how is that all integrated together?
So I'm using Sonos amps, which you can essentially connect any speaker to.
Gotcha.
And they are the player and the amplifier.
Gotcha.
For any powered speakers, like in the bedroom or living room, they have a port.
Okay.
And it's not an amplifier, but it sends the signal.
Sure.
It shows up in the app with the same options.
Gotcha.
So that's how I was able to do that with powered speakers.
Cool. So you have the two receivers in here, one to power this bedroom and one to power the adjacent living room, and then the Sonos are connected in that to allow you to stream to both of those at the same time. Dude, that's pretty slick. Now, one thing we didn't mention is the actual racks themselves, and so kind of what kind of racks are you using in here as well as your theater room?
So I used Red Atom. They're a smaller company, but they were budget friendly and they're a great rack. They come with the shelves. They come with a good selection, all pre-done, and obviously you customize it. But
yeah,
I've been very happy with them.
And I think that's pretty interesting because I know I was looking at one time, looking at the, I think Mid-Atlantic, and they get pretty pricey, but usually that you're paying for just the box. And then if you want the shelves, then it's like, okay, there's another $500, $600, maybe $1,000 in shelving. You're like, man, that adds up real quick. So to know that you said it was
Red Atom.
Red Atom. To know that there's an option out there that's budget friendly and different sizes, you know, that's kind of like a half rack, I guess. I don't know. They're probably in so many U's.
Right.
Like
I think that was 26U.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
So, you know, you've got a smaller rack and you knew you were going to put that in here before you even framed that out. I love how the fact that is like just a perfect fit. Just again, your whole house, man, everything is just super, super clean. All right, Mike, I normally don't include stuff like this in a home theater tour, but you got a cool garage, man. And so there's a lot going on here. So if you guys like cars, if you like garage, like I know I did a home theater tour at Obsessed Garage, Matt Morman, and that's part of that. I think some inspiration here. Kind of walk us through on what you've got going on. We've got several vehicles, a beautiful garage that's super clean, just like the rest of your house. And then something really special over there too we'll talk about.
So I did 2 4-post lifts for storage, and I also did a 2-post lift, mainly to work on it. This is my CTS-V. I modified everything myself. It's running right around 930 horse to the wheels.
Whew.
I've done some half-mile, just kind of fun recreational racing.
Okay.
I was able to do 179, was my best in the half-mile.
Holy cow.
It's got a 200 shot of nitrous on it. It's running about 16 to 17 pounds of boost.
Oh my goodness.
So these are just the lower cars of the daily drivers.
So needless to say, she's pretty fast.
Yeah, yeah. It's also a manual, which makes it a little harder to drive, but a lot more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we got the daily drivers down here and then 2 beautiful bikes up here. What's the story behind those?
So those are my father's. The one on the left, he actually rides.
Gotcha.
The other one was a custom bike he built that's never been driven.
Wow.
So that one he did metal work. I mean, it's a very special, one of a kind custom bike.
Man, that is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And then over here we got a beast of a truck.
Tell us about this.
Is this like your favorite?
Yeah, probably. I mean, the Cadillac, but that got somewhat unusable on the street.
I gotcha.
So this is the Dodge Ram TRX. It's got the Hellcat engine. It's a blast. The interior is super clean and comfortable, and it's a lot of fun.
So do you ever take this like mudding in it, or is this more
I haven't, but I mean, I could.
You're just on the street.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's a fast ride too, man.
Yeah.
That's a sweet truck. And then over here we've got like, just again, I love the fact that literally your whole home, we were in your master bedroom and I thought it was a guest bedroom because it looks so like clean and tidy, but as I've seen in your whole house, this is just what you're about. And so you've got all your tools organized, you've got spare tires up here, and man, was this a certain brand that you liked, or is there?
I mean, also this had to do with what fit, but I mean, this was somewhat affordable. I had to go with the black theme.
Yeah, I love the matte black.
Yeah, everything's kind of matte black throughout the house.
That's awesome.
But yeah, installed that fairly recently. I'm happy with the way it came out. Did the 65-inch TV.
Yeah.
Watch YouTube videos.
Sure, while you're working or just playing and tinkering.
And that also, I ran an HDMI cable when I pre-wired the house, so I'm feeding back to one of the Sonos amps, and that automatically, you turn on the TV, plays throughout the ceiling.
Gotcha. Check that out, man. You just thought of so many cool things in this theater, man, and in your home and the whole house, and the way it just kind of all integrates together and just flows really, really well. And then before we wrap up the video, man, there's one other really cool thing I wasn't expecting. You're like, hey, I got a garage, you wanna see that? And I said, sure. And so me and Brad walk out here and we're checking out these cool cars and this really cool bikes. But then we walk around the corner, man, and I was kind of blown away. So let's take them over here and kind of show them what you've got going on here. So I wasn't expecting to see this. And so when we pan over here, what in the world do we have going on here, man? This is insane. This is beautiful.
So this is a 38-foot, the brand is Mares. There wasn't that many made, but it's a catamaran. Basically just a performance boat.
Gotcha.
We're rebuilding the engines right now. They'll be about twin 900s. Kind of just restaurant hopping.
Yeah, restaurant hopping.
That's not cool. Something you go fishing.
So you could zoom down to like Miami.
You could.
Or you maybe closer.
Yeah, you could go Keys.
Gotcha.
Sarasota. Fuel prices right now, though.
Yeah, that's kind of. So do they actually have like restaurants that are on the ocean?
Yeah, there's quite a few in this area.
Cool.
That, like right on the Caloosahatchee River.
Gotcha.
That are boat friendly. You pull
so
up.
That's what they're made for. Yeah. Dude, how cool would that be to just pull up in your sweet boat, go in, grab dinner with your wife, come back out, cruise during the sunset, hop back home, come back and just chill and watch a movie.
It runs, yeah.
Dude, I absolutely love it. Well, Mike, this has been absolutely phenomenal, man. You have been just such a gracious host, you and your wife, opening up your home and to our audience just to be able to show them and kind of hopefully inspire them on what they can do. Whole house audio, integrating, a lot of planning went into this. And again, maybe this is way bigger scale than what someone watching this video could do maybe now, but who knows, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, they might be in a different place and be able to include some of this in theirs. But I think you've done an awesome job, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you for coming.
It's been a blast. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit the bell to be notified of future videos, because we've got more exciting home theater tours coming your way from the Florida Home Theater Tour. And as always, you guys be blessed, and we'll catch you in the next video.